What's up, guys? JK Disc Golf here, and today we're going to be talking about Brodie Smith's progression in disc golf. He's been putting a lot of more content out so we can dive deep into what he's been doing in his progression throughout the sport. Obviously, he's only been playing for a little bit still, but there's a lot of new things that he's improving and a lot of new ways that he's been getting better at our sport. So let's dive right in and see how he's been improving just in the short amount of time. So the one thing that big thing that stands out is his working with Paul. We've obviously seen very much videos about him just diving deep in his form and his putting. Basically everything Paul has kind of shaped him. Not saying that it's a direct copy, but he's just been working with Brodie at a very close pace, and I think that's very good for Brodie because he's going to get all the right techniques and the form down right away. Now, I think the one thing that we see Brodie doing correctly that maybe a lot of newer disc golfers, and even I can attest to this, is he's doing the right thing. He's working from the bottom up. We see that he's only been throwing putters and mid-ranges. He's stayed very clear of the just high-speed drivers. He actually only carries one driver, and that's the Onyx. So it's basically just a fairway, and he only pulls it out for those longer type of shots. Now, in the beginning, in the first couple weeks after visiting Paul, we saw he completely avoided the XStep, and his reasoning was he was kind of messing up once he implemented the XStep. And what he did right away, instead of trying to correct everything at once, is he avoided the XStep altogether and only went standstill. And I think this is something that's super smart and a lot of people don't take advantage of, is he knew that his form and his reach back wasn't all there in the beginning. So instead of working on that and the X-step and keeping the disc down, all these different factors, he is taking it one factor at a time. So this was him eliminating the X-step in the beginning was his way of working on his reach back and on his solid backhand form. Now, he's slowly been starting to implement that X-step, and I think that it's because he feels more comfortable with it, and as we can tell, as he takes his time on every single thing, and he's just been working on it all together, and I think that's something amazing that we can see him trying to do a little bit better. And with that standstill, he was actually throwing a standstill Onyx around 370 feet, and that's big distance for a standstill. I don't know if he's getting much more off the X-step or if he's going to get much more with maybe faster discs, like if he starts throwing a Zeus or maybe even an Undertaker, stuff like that. That if he's going to get even more distance, I'm assuming he will, maybe if it's only a couple more feet. But for now, I think that we can definitely going to see him be more of a solid arm, maybe throwing out, I think for now, maybe 450 pretty consistently. I know he threw one nearly 500 feet, but that was in the beginning when he was just messing around. And again, he's been taking it a lot more seriously. And I think we can definitely see that he knows the basics. And the way that I can tell is that he actually teaches Kelsey in a video. If you guys don't know, that's his wife. And why that's significant to me is you don't teach someone how to do something unless you know what you're doing. Now, I'm not saying he's obviously not a professional like Paul was teaching him, but he can teach the very basics and he understands the basics enough to teach someone who's new. Obviously, the way that he was speaking about it, he obviously knew what needed to be taught, like grip, how to throw the disc with his form. So he knows what he needs to do, and I think right now the thing that he just needs to focus on for himself is that repetition. That's the only way he's going to get better, is he keeps repeating the same actions and keeps out grinding. Like he said, he practices very often. I don't think there's a day that he doesn't work on something disc golf, and that's the mentality that he needs. As we can see that throughout his videos, each video he gets better and better. We see that his form's getting better, his mental side is getting better, I don't know how to explain it, but it's something that Simon does really good, and it's evaluating the different lines. In the beginning, I don't think he understood that there's more than one way. There's thousands of different ways to get to the basket. And I think as you become more of a prominent disc golfer, you notice these different lines and you have more options. And I think that he's getting very much better at that, as we can see him talking about it in his different videos about different lines that he can take. And I think that's something that's fundamentally is going to be very successful for him. I would say the one problem right now is he has no real sign of a forehand, especially with more drivers. I think he can get away with it with the zone because it's not as affected by the nose up angle. But if he throws a high speed driver like a Zeus or something else that Discraft has to offer, that nose up angle is going to just make it crash and burn and just fade out hyzer right away, not giving him any distance at all. And he's even said on Twitter, and he said it in his videos, that his forehand game is what's lacking the most. I think he just spectated the Wintertime Open, and the one big takeaway he said that he got out of it is he needs to stop air bouncing his forehand, and the only reason you air bounce it is you get that nose up angle. So that's going to be the one big thing from Ultimate that he has to switch to disc golf, and we knew this right away, is that he needed to fix that form. And in Ultimate, you got to get that nose up to get that glide. In disc golf, it's the complete opposite. You need to get that nose down for the disc to go. But the Brodie Smith progression is doing very good. He's obviously been making some good putts. We've seen he's been throwing farther. He's been seeing more consistent on his videos, and it's awesome. I love to see him grind, and I think he's going to become a very good disc golfer at the end of the 2020 season, even if he doesn't play in as many tournaments. But I think at this rate, his grinding, his teachers that he's been kind of grasping off, and he's just been trying to learn the sport as much as possible, and that's something that we can only be happy for. And I think that he's going to be in no problem coming in for the rest of the 2020 season, and I can't wait to see how he improves. Obviously, we will touch base back on this because this is just a few months or a few weeks of him even playing. So I think it's going to be very awesome. I think he's got a very good start. He's obviously better than a lot of people who just pick up disc golf. He was shooting lower to higher 900 rated rounds unofficially, of course, because in a tournament setting it's obviously very different. But just based on that, he's been shooting pretty good rounds around what many people kind of evaluated what he was going to be at anyways. So I'm definitely going to keep an eye on Brodie Smith. I'll let you guys know and touch base when I think he's kind of increased the next step in his progression, guys. But if you enjoyed the video, make sure to drop a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and always, guys, make sure to keep throwing.